He said to me, even before you start to think about me, I was thinking about you. To love those who hate you, you need someone whose name is Yeshua.
What if God cried with you when the girls in the church gossiped and laughed and made you never come back? What if his heart broke when the pastor leading the congregation had an affair with one of his congregants? What if the broken families, cycles of addiction, and abuse in the church are something that he weeps with humanity about? What if I told you that when Jesus was on earth, you were the person he would have hung out with, not those who love the law or cling to man-made rules and personality cults, but the ones who needed a friend? What if when he was on the cross, Jesus saw you, and if you were the only person in the world, he still would have gone through all that pain just to save you? What if he could relate to being hurt, rejected, and shamed because people hurt him too? For those of you with church hurt, I'm sorry, and I want to share my experience with you. Maybe it can help you find some sort of healing and understanding that not all Christians are bad. My introduction to Christianity was different, to say the least. I was a handful, and I got kicked out of public schools, so my mom scraped up enough money to send me to a private Christian high school. And at the time, this wasn't one of those super fancy private Christian schools. It was one that, to oversimplify things, had two groups of kids. The first group went to private Christian school pretty much all of their lives and thought that they were God's gift to humanity. And the second group were kids who, like me, were either difficult or had troubled backgrounds, and no other school would deal with them. So the private school we went to just kind of put up with us because they needed the money. And I'm not bashing my Christian school. It's the reason I found my faith, but it's also the reason I very nearly rejected the faith. I used to say this quote that's attributed to Gandhi quite a bit. I like your Christ. I do not like your Christians. Your Christians are so unlike your Christ. In many ways, the private Christian school I went through put me through hell. There was a group of lifelong private schoolgoers and their school board parents who basically felt important because they got to decide how much toilet paper the school could buy per quarter or whatever. And I quickly got onto their blacklist because I was kind of a rebel and a class clown. One of the school board members actually came to the school and accused me of being an undercover plant for a terrorist organization, and that caused a whole dramatic thing. He was pretty creative and imaginatory because my first name is Muslim.
I love being an American. America is number one. Oh, I am from USA. My father also from USA. My great-grandfather fought in the American Civil Jihad.
And I'm not one of these people who cries victim. Believe me, I'm very conservative. I get annoyed with these victim stories. I'm just telling you the story because of how ridiculous it was. He actually did this because his daughter and I started hanging out after a school dance, and I don't think he liked that. So pretty soon, these kids all started organizing their little cliquey private groups and group events, and they excluded me and others who weren't lifelong private schoolgoers from activities. There were many other things I don't want to bore you with, but a lot of what I saw broke my heart. And many of my friends at the school would leave after a year or two and completely reject Christianity because of how mean and exclusionary some of the kids at the school were. And for a while, I wasn't even sure that I wanted to be a Christian. Would it turn me into that? My point here is that if you haven't gone to church in forever or are nervous about going to church because of bad previous experiences or clickiness, I get it. And so does Jesus. The religious people were the ones who killed him. But I also found later in my church walk that not all Christians are like that. I've met hundreds of Christians who just as readily accepted me and loved me, helped me, and I don't know where I would be without some of them. So I just want to say to someone dealing with church hurt, try again. Don't let the people who cause that hurt you anymore. Church is for you. You belong there. And ultimately, they hurt you twice if you stay away. And I actually don't really buy into the you don't have to go to church to be a Christian thing, because while that's somewhat true, it's also a trap. God works through people. The entire Bible is a story of how God works in his community. the church. And separating yourself from that community is dangerous because it allows the enemy to attack you and keeps you away from the support system and community of brothers and sisters that God not only provided for you, but continually works through. I actually wanted to make a full-length video about that subject and how important attending church is. But before I did that, I also wanted to acknowledge that there is real church hurt out there. But ultimately, it's something you have to overcome. And if you need help, let me know. I'll flip a table or two if I need to. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. My goal with this channel is to make content that will edify, defend, educate, and strengthen the Christian church. And in doing so, I often deal with common cultural dilemmas and ask the question, where should a Christian stand?